It is the Jim and Terry Show coming to you from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bobcaygeon. I'm one of your hosts, Terry, and the empty chair is still awaiting the warmth generated by the posterior region of my good friend, Jim. Talking today about an article examining, and this is from DeSmog, D-E-S-M-O-G, and the article is called 6 Billionaire Fortunes Bankrolling Project 2025. Well, the previous episode I talked about what things add up together to give you bad math. And I mentioned the Heritage Foundation, the Federalist Society, Project 2025, and adding them all, and the ADF, and adding them all together. And what do you get? You get the mess that we have right now. And what I didn't examine, that was an ideological thread looking at the ideas of conservative theology, of conservative religious faith. But I didn't examine the track of how influential the Russian model of governance was in conservative politics in the United States. The oligarchs of Russia resemble very much the wealthy class of America, the 1% who control everything. Well, everything might be a stretch, but let's take a look at this article from DeSmog. The title, 6 Billionaire Fortunes Bankrolling Project 2025. And I can't say it enough. If you haven't read it, it's accessible online. Lots of articles, books have been written about Project 25. How we got to Trump is largely a result of the efforts made by Russ Vought in this Project 2025, but I'm interested here in the money. Follow the money. If you want to get to the drain the swamp part of things, you have to follow the money. And the money's flowing into Donald Trump's pocket, not out of Washington, into Donald Trump. So take a look at the cover of the 2025 Mandate for Leadership Conservative Promise. Yeah. Who bankrolled that dastardly effort? Well, since 2025, and I'm just reading a bit of the article, donor networks linked to just six family fortunes have funneled more than $120 million into Project 2025. Now, that's as it was back then, so that's a year ago. More than 100 nonprofits led by Heritage Foundation, a right-wing think tank that has engaged in climate change denialism, obstruction for decades, downsizing government, obstructing mandates to control environment, the EPA, regulations for drilling. Remember, Trump wanted good, clean coal to be dug out of the mountains again, and clean oil and gas, yeah? Well, Project 2025 is 900 pages, and it was called a Mandate for Leadership. But the plan really can be distilled to rapidly undoing all of the democratic reforms in the post-World War II era. When you say, make America great again, you're really saying, make America Father knows best. Make America the Flintstones. Make America something other than a progressive beacon of light on a hill for the oppressed and the downtrodden. It is give more money to the wealthy and let them stomp all over your rights. So how do we take a look at this? How do we begin to look at? Well, the 6 families are funding organizations as well, and so it begins to be hard to track. But if you follow the money, you can do it. And so this article attempts to tie Donald Trump's electoral success and his executive order, governing by executive order, avoiding anything being passed by Congress, is part of the problem. When money talks, it looks like Donald Trump, and you should be very afraid of that. So where do we look to? Well, let's start by naming names. And again, this is in the article. The Coors family. Yeah, Coors. $2.7 million to Project 2025. What else do we have? Charles G. Koch. $9.6 million to Project 2025. And he's the CEO and chairman of Koch Industries. Would it surprise you if I said that they are a sprawling conglomerate of oil refinery focus? Vast fundraising apparatus powers conservative charities, including dozens of initiatives and coalition partners, goes back decades. And again, the time frame that I look at for my own book is 1950s, the decade of my birth to the present, and look at the conservative influence and religious influence. What do we have next? How about Richard and Elizabeth Uihlein? At least 13 million. Uihleins are co-founders of Uihlein, a company that sells shipping and packing supplies, including its ubiquitous brand of cardboard boxes and other bulk business goods. They donate heavily to conservative causes through the Ad Uihlein Foundation, named after Richard Uihlein's father. Okay, so interesting. I was not aware of the Uihlein family. How about the Scaife family? Richard Mellon Scaife, I think it's Scaife, S-C-A-I-F-E, died in 2014, but his contributions to conservative causes are still felt today. A billionaire heir to a vast Mellon fortune. The fortune was created thanks to his progenitor's exploits in oil and aluminum production, banking, and other key interests. Okay. In 1999, an article in the Washington Post called him the founding father of the right. Okay, so that's a fair bit, 21.5 million. How about Bear Said? At least 22.4 million to Project 2025. And again, these are somewhat enigmatic industrialists and investors, dabbling in all kinds of things, mostly oil and gas, but I mean, we saw packaging with the one family, boxes and what have you. The Economist called this Bar Said, the Economist called him the world's most prominent think tank supporting skepticism about man-made climate change. Well, there you go. Put them all together and you get businesses bandying together to overturn regulations that get in the way of profits. Anything that causes profits to be threatened, any public health concerns are overturned, and you can do that when you control the courts. Well, so far we've got a fair bit of money flowing into these things. Some of the names: Marble Freedom Trust donated $100 million to Concord Fund, known as the Judicial Crisis Network. This is Leonard A. Leo. If you haven't heard of this guy, you should be aware of him and his pro-life America, all conservative-based think tanks. We find all kinds of things. Donating $2 million to Independent Women's Voices, which is, strangely enough, it's supposed to be the conservative version of women's emancipation. Instead, it's really the oppression of women under the guise of liberating women. You know, the trad wife, that's where this is all coming from. How about the Bradley family? $52.9 million to Project 2025 groups since 2020. Wow. The Lynd and Harry Bradley Foundation, established in 1942. So it's been up there, not a little bit antecedent to my own scope of my investigation, but what do we get? Add up all these things, and you get the Bradley Foundation linking donations to more than 7.7 million going to Turning Point USA. You may recall that from Charlie and Erica Kirk. They were a powerful ally of the Trump presidential campaign, promotes conservative causes on university campuses, and is founded in part by the fossil fuel industry. Its single largest donation was $27.1 million in 2022 to Project 2025 advisor Turning Point Legal, founded by former Trump advisor and past president of a coal lobby group. Who would that be? Stephen Miller. If you add up all these things, you do add up to the mess that America is quickly succumbing to. Succumbing, I use as a way of saying, well, maybe you're being dragged to it, and maybe you're just, maybe you're not resisting. Or as Timothy Snyder, writing about autocracies and authoritarianism, says, do not obey in advance. Well, Stephen Miller laid it out in Trump 1.0. You should not doubt the powers of the president. He shall not be questioned. I thought he was spooky then. Now he's just creepily scary. Here we go. Okay. Money, money, money. Follow the money. Jim and Terry Show. Wish we had some. Bye-bye for now.
It's complicated, this relationship I have.